What's up, everyone, and welcome to NFL Nexus, where we break down the stories that are really shaping the league. Today, we're zoning in on Indianapolis because the Colts are at a serious fork in the road. They've spent years, years, building this roster, drafting smart, developing guys, all for this exact moment, this window where they can really compete. But right now, one single contract standoff with one of their star players could unravel the whole thing. The decision they have to make with wide receiver Alec Pierce, it's not just going to change their depth chart. No. It could fundamentally change their entire offensive identity for the next 5, maybe 10 years. This is so much bigger than just a contract. Let's get into it.
If you really want to understand the level of pressure that's building in Indy right now, you don't have to look much further than this tweet. It's from their own all-pro cornerback, Sauce Gardner. And yeah, of course, he's joking. It's a funny nod to his old college teammate from Cincinnati, basically saying he'll do whatever it takes to keep him on the team. But like with any great joke, there's a whole lot of truth hiding in there. The anxiety, the tension that's just simmering through the locker room, through the fan base, about losing their #1 deep threat, it is very, very real. This is one of those hilarious tweets that accidentally captures a deeply serious problem.
So while Sauce Gardner's tweet is funny, it really just peels back the curtain on this huge problem the Colts front office is staring down. The clock is absolutely ticking, and the future of their entire offense is hanging in the balance. See, this isn't just about keeping one good player. It's about keeping the balance of their entire offensive system intact. Losing a guy like Alec Pierce isn't like losing a backup lineman. It's more like pulling a critical piece out of a Jenga tower. The whole structure gets wobbly, and it could all come crashing down.
So how did we even get to this point? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The Colts and Alec Pierce's agent, they just couldn't agree on a long-term contract before the deadline hit. Now, the Colts had a tool they could have used. It's called the franchise tag. It's basically a 1-year, super high-paying contract that would have forced him to stay for the 2026 season. But they decided not to use it, probably because it would have cost a ton of money against their salary cap. So they rolled the dice. And now, Pierce is free to talk to every other team in the league. And the Colts are facing this nightmare scenario where some other team just swoops in, offers him a massive contract they can't match, and boom, the most important piece of their passing attack is gone.
Okay, so let's play this out. Let's say the worst-case scenario happens and Alec Pierce really does walk. What happens then? Well, it's not just about one empty spot on the roster. It creates this massive, gaping, Pierce-shaped hole in the offense. And the ripple effects would be huge. All of a sudden, their quarterback, Daniel Jones, he doesn't have that guy he can trust to just bomb it to downfield. The other receivers, guys like Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs, their jobs get way harder because they're going to see tougher coverage. And believe it or not, even the star running back, Jonathan Taylor, he's going to suffer because defenses won't have to worry about the deep pass anymore. They can just load up the box to stop the run. It's a classic domino effect. One guy leaves and a dozen problems pop up.
Let's really dig into what this slide is telling us, because it's pretty brutal. When the outlook is described as pretty grim, that's not just hyperbole. It's because the entire explosive element of the offense just vanishes overnight. You're left with no one who can truly scare a defense deep, no one who keeps those safeties honest and forces them to back up. And this is where it really hurts their quarterback, Daniel Jones. He's had some inconsistencies with the deep ball, and Pierce was the kind of receiver who could make up for that, who could go get those 50-50 balls. Without him, that weakness gets put under a microscope. And for opposing defensive coordinators, well, it's party time. They can get super aggressive knowing there's no real threat to beat them over the top. To really get why losing Pierce would be such a catastrophe, we have to understand what a deep threat truly is. He's not just some guy who can run fast in a straight line. A real deep threat is like the sun in a solar system. He has his own gravity. Just by being on the field, even on plays where he doesn't get the ball, he pulls defenders with him. He warps the shape of the defense. And in doing that, he creates all this wide open space underneath for the other receivers and opens up huge running lanes for the running backs. You take that piece away and the whole field shrinks. The offense becomes cramped, predictable, and a whole lot easier to defend. All right, so if plan A, which was re-signing Alec Pierce, totally blows up in your face, you have to pivot to plan B, and you have to do it fast. For the Colts, especially under their general manager Chris Ballard, plan B almost always means one thing: the NFL draft. He loves to build his team with young talent. The good news for them is that the 2026 draft class is looking really strong at wide receiver. The bad news? Finding a rookie who can step in on day one and give you the same impact as a veteran star like Pierce, well, that is a massive challenge. So let's look at 3 guys who might just be up to the task. First up on the list is a name that should be very familiar to football fans in Indiana: Malachi Fields from Notre Dame.
I mean, this guy was putting on a show just a short drive up the road in South Bend. He transferred in from Virginia and immediately just took over. He became the go-to guy for the Fighting Irish, establishing himself as one of the best big play receivers in the entire country. He was an absolute nightmare for defenses. He's got the size, he's got the production on tape, he's got the pedigree, everything you look for in a guy who could make an impact from the jump.
And this right here, this is exactly why scouts are so high on Malachi Fields. He is the walking, talking definition of an explosive receiver. Just look at that number, 17.5 yards per catch. That's not just moving the chains, that is flipping the entire field on one play. Every single time this guy touches the football, he is a threat to take it to the house. With his big frame and his skill set, he's a perfect ready-made deep weapon. And then you add this X factor for the Colts. The idea of him getting coached by a Hall of Famer, a franchise legend like Reggie Wayne, wow, that could be the key to unlocking his absolute superstar potential.
Okay, our next prospect. This one just feels like a movie script. It's the hometown hero story, Elijah Sarratt from Indiana University. This is a guy who followed his coach from a smaller school, James Madison, all the way to the Big Ten. And he didn't just survive, man, he absolutely dominated. Playing right there in Bloomington, he became the #1 option for the Hoosiers and started putting up huge numbers against some of the best defenses in the nation. He's a local kid who proved he belonged on the biggest stage. I want you to just take a second and look at this number, 15. That is how many touchdowns Elijah Sarratt scored for Indiana last season. That wasn't just good for the team or good for the conference. That was one of the highest totals in the entire country. And what that number tells you is that this guy has a special knack for producing when it counts the most. He just doesn't nose for the end zone. It's an instinct, an ability to find that open grass and make the tough catches when everything is on the line. So what makes Sarratt so interesting is the kind of value he represents. He's not just a deep threat. He is a flat-out touchdown machine. And here's the kicker. He's projected to be a second or even a third-round pick. For the Colts, that is huge. That gives them incredible flexibility. They could use their first-round pick on another major need, like an offensive tackle or a cornerback, and then circle back and grab a guy like Sarratt who fits their system perfectly. He's at his best in an offense that runs the ball a lot and uses play action, which is exactly what the Colts want to do with Jonathan Taylor. He could be the perfect puzzle piece. All right, our third and final guy, this is the high-risk, high-reward, swing-for-the-fences option, Jacoby Lane, from the wide receiver factory down at USC. And this kid perfectly fits the mold of what the Colts GM, Chris Ballard, absolutely loves. Ballard is obsessed with players who have rare, elite athletic traits, and Jacoby Lane is basically the poster child for that philosophy. He's huge, he's incredibly fast, he's explosive. On paper, he is literally everything you could ever want when you're looking for a true, game-breaking X receiver. Get ready for this, because this number is almost hard to comprehend. 9.69 out of a perfect 10. That is Jacoby Lane's relative athletic score, or RAS. It's a test that combines all of a player's athletic numbers from the NFL Combine. To put that into perspective, that score makes him one of the single most athletic receivers to enter the NFL draft since 1987. We're talking about an athlete who is in the 97th percentile. He's basically a lab-created superhero in football pads. He can run faster and jump higher than almost anyone else at his position. So Lane is the classic boom or bust prospect. He is an absolute athletic marvel built to be that guy who takes the top off of a defense. But, and this is a really big but, there's a catch. He had issues with dropped passes in college. Simple concentration drops. So the physical tools are off the charts, but the consistency just isn't there yet. And that creates this million-dollar question for the Colts. Can their legendary wide receivers coach Reggie Wayne fix that one major flaw? Can he refine that raw talent? Because if he can't, you've got a potential all-pro. But if he can't, you've got a frustrating player who never quite lives up to the hype. It's a huge gamble. Okay, so let's put them all side by side. You've got three guys who offer three completely different solutions to the same problem. Do you go with Malachi Fields, the polished, explosive, big play threat, who feels like a pretty safe bet to be a good pro right away? Do you go with Elijah Sarratt, the reliable, local touchdown catcher who gives you fantastic value in the middle of the draft? Or do you roll the dice and swing for the fences on Jacoby Lane, the athletic freak who has the highest ceiling but also the lowest floor? It's three totally different philosophies. So when you lay out all of these options, you start to realize just how complex this decision is for the Colts front office. This isn't just about finding a guy to run deep routes for the 2026 season. No, this is a decision that sets the direction of your franchise. The choice they make, whether they decide to pay a ton of money to keep Alec Pierce or pivot to one of these young guys in the draft, that move is going to define who their offense is for the next 5 years, maybe longer. This is a true franchise-altering moment.
So now, I'm going to turn it over to you. I want to hear what you think. Put on the GM hat for a day. You're in the war room, you're on the clock. What's the move? Are you taking the proven production and big playability of Malachi Fields? Do you go for the smart, high-floor value pick with the hometown kid Elijah Sarratt? Or do you bet on your coaching staff and take that massive swing on the rare athleticism of Jacoby Lane? Drop your pick, and more importantly, your reason why, down in the comments below.
You know, at the end of the day, this whole situation in Indianapolis is the perfect example of how the biggest, most important moments in the NFL don't always happen on the field on a Sunday. Sometimes it's a single decision made in a front office in March, a single contract negotiation that ends up defining a team's future for years and years. The choice the Colts make is going to be absolutely fascinating to follow. Hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, do us a huge favor and subscribe to NFL Nexus. And please hit that like button. It really helps us out a ton. And also, if you're looking for a fun and relaxing way to support the channel, check out our coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, and hey, even adults. You can find them by using the link in the description or just scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.